Welcome to Treknicity, a Star Trek podcast. A journey of 5 years boiled down to about 30 minutes. I'm Lars.
I'm Patrick, and I think you're optimistic about the 30 minutes once we get yammering incessantly about things, because we never shut up and keep going and keep repeating myself, and eventually you have to cut me off because otherwise I'll keep talking and you won't be able to say in this 12th annual season. So I'm just waiting for you to interrupt me and tell me to go fuck myself. But
Go fuck yourself.
Go.
In this 12th and final episode of Season 7 and the entire series, we're talking about the undiscovered or oft-discovered country, the future.
The future!
Welcome to the world of tomorrow!
Oh! Okay.
Shut up, Terry.
So yeah, we're going to wrap it up here. Kind of was this going to be a retrospective talking about the series, our whole thing about Trek. And in the middle of that, a little story pops up about a Star Trek actor being a piece of shit. So we'll get to Beltran's dumbass in a minute. But let's just get into the big one, which is this is the end of Treknicity, I guess.
This is the formal, final, and no refund price of Treknicity. We're done. This marks the 72nd episode of this show since I started doing these episodes either by myself with various other co-hosts, including yourself, in I want to say mid to late 2018. So right about 5 years I've been doing this, and I got into doing Treknicity with the hopes that I could just talk about Star Trek, have a good time, and really enjoy just being a Star Trek nerd. But, you know, as we've kind of ticked along, we've hit some highs and we've hit some lows, and I think now is a very good time to leave off and go in a different direction. As anybody who follows the Red Shirt Geeks knows, that we are in our 10th year of creating content. And yeah, I mean, we want to focus our energies back on a more broader reaching geek-centric, whatever you want to call it, podcast, shows, platform.
Broader reaching podcast or podcast reaching for broads? Wait, that's terrible.
No,
okay,
that would be your show because whatever. Anyway, so
for whatever, to be honest.
I did, I had a lot of fun. I did some live episodes, just coming on and talking about stuff for about 5-10 minutes, and we've done long episodes. I would say some of the highlights of this show has been interviewing the cast and crew of the Starship Tempest.
That was definitely fun.
Yep. Also interviewing Doug Drexler. That was good times.
Doug was most awesome.
Yeah, and then of course the opportunity to sit there and talk Star Trek with some of my friends, and so where we're at right now.
Do an episode for that matter.
The thing is, I realized that I had reached at one point. I took a break. I took an extended break from doing Treknicity because I know that the idea is. Yeah, see, I know better than to look at you when I'm talking because I immediately lose my train of thought. But I did take an extended break from doing Treknicity for a little while because I realized that I had kind of fallen into that trap. There was a very toxic trap that was going on with the Trek fandom, especially going, sort of revolving around the debacle that was the Axanar fan film.
And the death of good Star Trek fan content because of restrictions because of fucking Axanar. Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to go on record just one last time and say, fuck you, Alec Peters.
Sideways. And,
so here we are. We're in the last episode. Just want to talk about kind of the things we've done. We want to talk about where we're going. Now this, anybody who is actually interested in this show, this is not the final goodbye of the Treknicity content, period. It's just going to come into a little bit different form, and we're going to roll some of it into another
podcast, you mean?
Yeah, it's going to be like, we're not going to do it like a full length podcast, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. So with that being said, let's actually talk about the item. Let's say the item du jour. The news du jour about a certain Star Trek actor who shall remain nameless, Robert Beltran.
Well, let's first just talk for just a moment about the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike situation. Basically, one of the big things in this is that with the actors, one of the things they do is they do not talk about struck content. They don't promote it. Questions arise whether doing episodes like we've been doing for Treknicity, talking about Strange New Worlds, whether that might be promoting. That's kind of a touchy because it's a review of the ups and downs and pluses and minuses of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, like, we had to...
We're doing a critical review of stuff that's been produced.
Right, we're not talking about anything that's upcoming. It was stuff that had already been... It was already gone through pre-production and was in the process of airing on streaming platforms. And, to be... to make it very clear, a lot of, like, Star Trek alumni, both people who have acted in Star Trek in the past and are current Star Trek actors, went publicly and said, "Hey, don't cut these people off. Don't cut these streaming services off. Our stuff is coming out. Like, we've done that. We stood, but we stand behind that. We've done that. So keep watching Paramount Minus. Keep watching the movies. All the stuff that came out before the strike started. All the stuff that was produced before the strike started. They were very vocal and said, "Hey, keep backing that, please." So we did. We reviewed it.
But they're not talking about their characters. They're not doing things. So Star Trek Las Vegas is kind of weird. Watch last episode of Ready Room with Will Wheaton. What do you think? And he tends to do interviews every week. So with the strike definitely in play, who did he get on? They got special effects people to come on and talk on the last episode. Not any of the main characters, the main actors.
Because I couldn't.
So yeah, that impact is felt. Star Trek Las Vegas, you got to meet all the Star Trek actors who wanted to talk about everything that wasn't Star Trek, because that struck content.
But in a way that wasn't too bad. That was actually kind of a slight boon, because that gave people an opportunity to actually talk to the actors about stuff that they'd done previously, and two, about themselves in general. I mean, that's something you don't really get to talk about. Can you imagine being one of these actors or actresses who appear at these conventions, and they have to, they got a line as long as the convention center itself, of people coming up to get stuff signed, getting pictures taken, and they got like 5 seconds maybe to say what they want to say. Of course, these people are doing it all day long. It's got to be exhausting, and I'm sure they appreciate the fans. They're there. I mean, they do it for money. They do it for the love of the franchise. I mean, it's whatever. We all know that it has absolutely nothing to do with altruistic goals in mind. But
they spend the time.
Yeah, they're there.
Thing. And yeah, they even endure the nerds that want to know in season 3, episode 12, in this scene you adjusted the phase compensator clockwise instead of vertically.
Yeah, you mean
idiots.
You mean like in the what was it in Galaxy Quest when he comes up and basically takes Peter Taggart to or is it Jason Nesmith took him to task about some inconsistency in some random episode, and they knew it like the back of their hands. But of course, that itself was a parody of a parody, because it was there was a whole thing on SNL where they do the same thing, and Shatner goes off on a fan, which is based on something that happened in real life, and then Galaxy Quest parodied that event by having a similar one, but still, they're there, and we appreciate it.
And then, of course, the end, the nerds actually have the solution because they know the insides and outs of the ship better than the actors for obvious reasons.
Absolutely. So,
which brings us to Chakotay actor Robert Beltran, who is a piece of shit.
Yeah,
So
we don't say that like we don't say that lightly.
Yeah. So the incident that kind of brought this to bear is that during a panel, he started getting all on about discussing Star Trek stuff. Everybody else at the panel is kind of waving him off and says, let's not go full Star Trek talk because that's not... And he kind of ignored them. So basically, this is scabbing. This is basically crossing that picket line to give content for that feeds the guys they're striking against. It's at very least very bad form. And while many of the actors, I'm sure, said a couple things here and there, just offhand talking with all the fans asking him a million questions, them mostly having to wave off. Maybe they said some things, but this one was different. This was, you keep going, you don't stop, and you keep pushing things.
Yeah, it's, like we understand that people want to talk about things, and I mean, he probably wanted to talk about Star Trek because, I don't know how many conventions he gets to. I'm sure he wanted to talk about it, but that's, it kind of flies in the face of the people who are out there on the picket lines every day, and through the wonders of social media. I do have a number of Facebook friends and whatnot who are SAG actors who do post when they're out on the picket line because they want to bring attention to their situation. And
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of flies in the face of that. And it's not just scabbing that really does it for this guy. Yet I believe you have some more information.
Oh, we're going to get on that. But yeah, the important thing here is we, of course, here at Treknicity support the strikers and the strike, because essentially they're trying to negotiate and make sure that they get the best deal for the writers who basically get ignored and paid shit a lot of times, and the working actors, not the top stars. The top stars who show up and give speeches are there supporting the people at the bottom. The people at the bottom are the ones that they try to make their living acting, that if, say, an example, the AI being able to just drop take this person's image and then drop the AI, generate them into shots forever.
Right.
That's the kind of thing they're doing.
Right. And right now they could do that based on the old rules. Well, they want new rules put in place to say, no, you can't do that. I mean, the whole thing with Crispin Glover, going back to Back to the Future. So when they ended up, what they ended up doing is they took Crispin's likeness and they basically had another actor stand in for him when there was a dispute.
This is in the... Excuse me for just a moment. Go ahead, keep talking. I need to take care of something for just a moment.
No worries. So this goes back to the whole idea of basically using actors' likenesses without their permission, without their express permission. And it's not. I mean, it's nothing new, but this is kind of was the catalyst for this kind of thing to happen. And that was, go back. I mean, what was that? 1986, 87, when that movie came out. So. It's nothing new.
Yeah, except now it's really damned easy.
Yeah, it's much easier to do that. So, of course,
because we've seen that when they've replaced people in films. Carrie Fisher, I can't remember his name, played Grand Moff Tarkin.
Oh,
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Yep.
Yeah, when they did that, when they recreated those for the film, Peter Cushing was pretty solid as the dead guy. And they've done in other films when they've had to because an actor's died. Everybody understands those kind of situations.
But it's important to note that technology is getting better and better as they go along. Because the first time I think I can remember seeing it was in, I can't remember what year it was. It was whatever year Terminator Salvation came out. They used Arnold's face.
I already forgot about that.
Right. They took Arnold's face from the first movie and they digitally mapped it onto basically a guy who is his protege. And the guy whose body who still looks like Arnold's did back in the 80s. And so they basically that's the first time I could recall it being done and being done fairly well. And of course, you get the uncanny valley of Rogue One, where you had Princess Leia and Grand Moff Tarkin. But from what I've been told, it has gotten so much better, including the de-aging process that they did with Harrison Ford for the latest Indiana Jones movie. Now, just before I forget, I lie. Terminator Salvation was not the first time I saw technically digital de-aging. I think the first time I can actually really recall it was X-Men Last Stand, and that was terrible. Not just a bad movie, but it was a bad effects job.
Still not the worst X-Men movie, though.
No, apparently that was Dark Phoenix, wasn't it?
Oh, hell yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, so I'm only just going off of your reaction.
Yeah, X-Men The Last Stand, it's got some good and got some bad. It sucks, but it's not the worst movie ever created.
Right.
It's got the Juggernaut bitch.
That's right. Don't you forget.
Anyway.
So anyways, so the whole point is that the process over the years has gotten better and better and better, and it's going to continue to get better because deepfakes is now a very real concern, and of course they want their rights entrenched.
And yeah, having your likeness become a studio product, bad thing. Then they eventually start replacing the real actors. And they start replacing people up the line until it's all AI and there's no actors involved at all. Period. Which may be something interesting to do for an experiment, but the problem there is these people make their living this way, and yeah.
Just for for anybody who's interested, this right here is the most sought after IP in the world. Not my face, but a person's face.
My face, maybe.
No.
Anyway.
No, yours looks like an anus with glasses. Oh no, sorry, that's my face. My apologies. Didn't mean to get those confused.
Okay, so let's go. Okay, so let's continue with the Beltran train. So apparently, after this, some asshat transphobe tweets. Just thought I'd tweet and say I hope you're doing okay after the absolute sickening abuse you're getting online for being a scabbing piece of shit. They are not Star Trek fans. These are weirdos with trans flag, rainbow flag, and pronouns in their bio, apostrophe S, because obviously this fucker doesn't know how to use apostrophes. Real fans have your back. Praying emoji. Dickbag Robert Beltran replies simply, real Star Trek fans are fantastic, very true. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so...
Now, he did follow up this with a tweet that says, I only meant what I said in the tweet, but you responded to that tweet to a piece of shit culture warrior asshole.
That being said, I would like to go on record now. One thing we've decided to do in Red Shirt Geeks is to stop live streaming to things like Facebook and whatever.
The site normally known as Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm not calling it X. They can go fuck off because Elon Musk can suck dick.
Pretty much. And normally I wouldn't want this kind of content on this show, but this is the last one, so fuck it. At least we're not doing the aristocrats. So, anyway,
so a family comes in. There.
So the idea is that look, Star Trek has always been like from day one. Even though Roddenberry was an absolute man whore, and God bless him, small g. He was always about inclusivity, acceptance, and shit going into other shit because that's the way he was, and that's all about Star Trek, man. It's all about everybody's got a space.
Even with some of the rampant misogyny that had occurred, he still knew the direction it needed to go, even if he didn't always live up to it.
Well, yeah, he had to toe the studio line a lot, especially. I mean, when you look at the Cage, the latent misogyny between Pike and Number One, and Pike and Yeoman Colt. I mean.
I'm just not used to a woman on the bridge.
Okay.
Or even the final episode of Star Trek, Turnabout Intruder, I think it was. No, was it that one?
Yeah, that was the last one of the original series.
Yeah. Oh, they can't. You don't let women in the ranks of captains.
Yeah. But again, that was the culture of the '60s, and look, Star Trek has expanded its horizons more and more as it's gone along, especially with TNG.
Queer as fucking there, yo.
Oh yeah, just look, Discovery's all about it. I mean, if there is one good thing I can really say about Discovery, besides,
it's ending after 5 seasons.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say that, but if there was one good thing besides the fact that Doug Jones is in it, is the fact that it does shine a massive spotlight on inclusivity.
They went really gay and non-binary and all that.
All of it, awesome. and more power to them. I mean, if you got to give them credit for where credit's due. So here's the thing: is look, if you want to be like that, if those are your beliefs, they are yours to have. That's the whole thing. You can have them, yeah. But we're not going to sit there and go, well, that's okay. You get to keep going. I mean, I'm not all about this whole cancel culture shit. I don't really know what the hell, why it suddenly became a culture. It's more just about holding people accountable for their bullshit. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why Roseanne became the Connors.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing with Beltran. Basically, the queer community just started gay site formerly known as Twitter started shredding the hell out of him. Obviously, he didn't give a proper response. It says, "Yeah, I'm actually supportive," and of course, they started unearthing all of his Twitter history. And wow, okay,
yeah.
Having read him send a lot of other stupid, shitty shit, I think he needs to not. We know he's going to be in season 2 of Prodigy, which will be airing, yay, somewhere. We just don't know yet. But if Prodigy gets the 3rd season, he doesn't need to be in it at all.
Oh, I agree. I absolutely agree.
And all these conventions, no. Let's just stop inviting his ass. Yeah, I know you're a little bitter about how shitty your character was treated on Voyager, and apparently in the years since there's been a good amount of backlash about how stereotypical the character was. We're not laying that on him, but yeah, Chakotay got a raw deal from in multiple ways as a character.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and Robert Beltran as an actor in the series kind of got screwed over with his character basically becoming unimportant.
Yeah.
But that's no reason to be an asshole to everybody.
Because if that was the case, Will Wheaton would be an asshole to everybody. And we know that he lives by the mantra, don't be a dick.
Except to you. But
oh, yeah.
We'll talk about that another time.
Some other time. I'm sure one day, I hope I ever meet him again, I'll get to regale that story in a positive way. So, that being said.
I will. You told me to fuck off last time I met you.
So,
wait a minute. Okay. So, yeah, that's the thing. So, just remember, with Star Trek, it's time. Star Trek is a lot of things to a lot of people, and let's not let shitty people ruin it, and let's find all the great podcasts that are going to be out there that are doing Star Trek stuff that are really good, that aren't us.
Well, I mean, there's Trek Culture, there's Jessie Gender. And of course, there's one of my favorite.
Well, she doesn't have a full podcast; she just does content. But yeah, there's tons of podcasts where they just do freeform yammering. Just millions of them. Maybe not millions, thousands.
Oh yeah, I mean there are plenty of shows out there on YouTube, on whatever platform of your choice. And I mean, I know that I've talked a lot about like there is the Duras sisters, there's the Inglorious Treksperts, there's the Treksperts quiz, there's the Irreverent Nerds.
Will be on again at some point in the future?
Maybe, if he ever gets back to me. And yeah, I mean, there's tons. There's tons out there that we've dealt with, and We've had some great experiences with also Twin Cities Trekkies. I don't want to forget you, Wes. And we're grateful for it. But now it's time to move on to the future. So what my plans are, my plans for this content, I'm looking to move it specifically to like TikTok and possibly YouTube Shorts. Because I've already set things up. I want to give it a try. I want to just do, it might be myself, it might be Patrick and I. It just depends on what day of the week it is, and whatever. It doesn't matter. The idea is that I want to do this in a way that makes it bite-sized, makes it relevant, and gets me making more content more often, because we've kind of been doing this on roughly a weekly basis. And I
take long periods of pause.
Well, yeah, because life happens, and I want to do this. I still want to continue talking about Star Trek. However, any news segments really that require some meat and potatoes discussion are going to be moved over into segments of their own on the Red Shirt Geeks podcast. Now, we started the Red Shirt Geeks podcast way back in 2014. When we started this whole affair, it was like 5 of us, and we kind of did this thing back and forth, and we did this group thing that was okay for a bit. Then it went down the shitter.
4, 3, and down to 2 us, and fuck Alex. Go ahead.
And so we kind of gave up on that. We did different things. We did the Red Shirt interviews, which, there were a lot of cool interviews on that. That was a lot of fun. I mean, in fact, I think the first Star Trek related interview you and I did was actually for our first podcast, 3x2. And that was with Gary Graham. And I still remember resisting the urge to fanboy with him. Although you and I did get a couple of really good jabs in on him over Robot Jocks. And he was a very good sport about that.
Well, now we just need to get Mark Hamill so I can regale him about my love of the Big Red One.
Ooh.
Which when we have him on, if we go ever to get him on, I will produce the DVD in my hand so that he can be like, "Holy shit!
You guys are no.
This is deep, bitch.
This is
Well,
at least it's not the fucking Last Jedi. But anyways, so I
don't hate him that much.
So that's what we're going to be doing with the Star Trek content. Some of it is going to be, sort of, again, very short, bite-sized things made specifically for TikTok, and like I said, to maybe even YouTube Shorts. This depends. And then we'll move the bigger pieces of content for just over to the Red Shirt Geeks podcast, which Patrick and I are currently in the process right now of laying it out, figuring out how we want to structure that, because for Patrick,
so it's not as haphazard as this has been at times.
Oh yeah, I mean I've phoned in episodes more times than I care to count, and it's not because I don't love doing this. It's because you get despondent, there's so many people doing these things, and they're going so much further than you are, and you don't know why, and you're like, is it my personality? I mean, I showered. I mean, what the hell?
Hold on. There.
Oh, I see this.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, that's very well deserved. But it is, when you do content a lot, like Patrick streams on our Red Shirt Geeks live stream, 3-4 times a week, including the Sundays that I will sometimes join you on.
Yeah, 2 to 3 times by myself, and then we do the Sundays.
Right.
And if you're not here, sometimes I just do the Sundays all by myself alone, sad.
Yes. Well, it's because you deserve it. And so, again, sometimes it gets a little despondent and rough, and you're just like, whatever. I'm not really in the mood to do this. And you kind of do a half-assed job. You just grin and bear it and get through it. Now, wow.
We want to get it better.
Yes. We want to hone our performances and give relevant and entertaining content. Stuff that makes us sound like we know kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and we'll have to talk about Babylon 5 stuff next time, because there's actually news on that. So,
yeah, I think I'm going to actually, and that's the thing is I don't think... We found it on streaming again, didn't we? Because it was originally on HBO Max.
It's on somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's on...
And we'll have the Ahsoka series to talk about, and of course I'm going to talk some D&D and stuff that's not D&D, because
screw WotC.
yeah, they can eat a bag of dicks. So
Yeah. So, okay. So we're gonna leave it up. We're gonna wrap it.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
Please go ahead. No, I know you're gonna say something.
Because I was gonna say I don't know if there's that much else more. I don't know if there's that much more for us to say. Obviously, I can't say those words in the correct order because it's one of those years. So,
and that's
I think I will leave it to you to
sing us off. Dun, 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 dun. No, I won't sing, I promise. That is all the time we have for this series. Thank you for joining us as we talk about all things Star Trek. Be sure to check us out on all our wonderful socials listed above and join us as we enter our 10th year of Red Shirt Geeks by viewing all of our content at redshirtgeeks.tv. Also, please join us on the last episode. Sorry, you know what? Screw it. I left a part in there that I didn't need. Screw it. We're done. We'll see you next time on the Red Shirt Geeks podcast. I'm Lars.
I'm Patrick.
And remember to go boldly. And as always, rock out, which is Spock out. And we'll see you on a completely different show. Bye!